Hi, and welcome to the Peet and Reet Show. I'm Pete, this is Reet. Over there, Danny Zzzz, world famous hypnotist, hypnotherapist, mentalist, illusionist. But
and so much more.
Yeah, and took a lot to get there. And this show actually, folks, is to show you at home that you can be anything you want to be. Doesn't matter how much money, whether you've got a physical problem. If you want to do it and you got a dream, you can do it. You know how we know that? Because that's what this guy did. He had he must have had at least 100 dreams, right? You've been talking to me.
Many.
Some of them were nightmares.
some of them we can't talk about.
That's right.
Too.
There you go. There you go. Well, I'm real happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for coming.
The Rita and Peta show has been one of my favorites.
That's on another channel. It's not on this channel.
Rita and Peta. But that's okay.
Well, we'll get our audience maybe.
It's under consideration. Okay?
There you
if
go.
they would just go and subscribe on YouTube, they can
then
make
we
comments.
Can change it.
Yeah, whatever they want, we'll do. Okay.
Yeah. Well, either way, I'm happy to be here amongst both of you guys. I'm pretty excited.
So we're always about, charity, making life better. That's what we want the show to be, right? And when we talked about guests, we said, why are we bringing him on?
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
But anyways, let's go back in time. Let's go back to when you were 13. Your family had a pile of challenges, and you had to become a pig farmer.
Thank you. Thank you for just going right into that. Yeah. Like any family, we all have our challenges. There's no question. But my career started for sure at about 13. I got my very first job at a pig farm of all places, and I thought it was a good job, actually. When you look back at the time, although I can still smell it on me.
Still touched under your nose.
Yes. That's a smell that will never leave
go
you.
away.
The money was real good. Back then, which was many moons ago, I made about $10 an hour. And
come on, why did you leave that?
It was a good job.
$10 an hour.
Well, why did I leave it? That's a story in itself. It used to take me about 45 minutes a day to drive to this job. I'd pedal my bike there, and I would spend the day shoveling manure. Hey, it'll teach you a lot.
That's what pig farmers do.
That is, yeah. Until one day, making that route, most of the drive smelled like bacon.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's not a nice smell. The farm burnt down, which is a tragedy. God bless the family. Everybody was safe. The pigs weren't. Mm-hmm. But at that age, it's devastating not just to the people who have to deal with that tragedy, but for me, the economic loss.
Well, that's huge money.
It was huge money. And you know what? It was certainly sustaining my livelihood and helping my family in whatever way it could. And it was my first real look at the financial economics of loss, whether it's a loss of a job or somebody around you. I mean, it's amazing how it impacts your future.
Well, I was a dairy farmer, so I appreciate working on the farm. I think everybody should have to work on a farm.
It's so good. My sons grew up, we had a farm too, and we were pig farmers. Right. We were. But when we smelled bacon, it wasn't from
a tragedy, of course.
Yeah,
but that was my first start into a many run of many different jobs and careers. And as you were saying at the start of the show, you have to have the ability to believe that you can do anything or try anything. And I don't think that would have been my first choice of how to start my career, but the lessons that came from it certainly were ones that I'll carry for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and you got to say yes to a job today, knowing where you're going after that. Because if you're just sitting around waiting, it's not going to happen for you.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
That's true.
So you also have another challenge that you weren't born with it. They kind of gave it to you after, but you actually see 5 images, which means right now you're seeing 5 studios, 5 of us.
Yeah. Well, the Peet and Reet Show is big enough. I should see 5. I have an eye issue. I call it the fly eye. I don't think that's the technical term, but I see a cluster of ghostly images around out of my left eye. When I was very young, I was cross-eyed, like lots of people are and have those challenges. And back then, they gave me a patch to wear. And in wearing that patch for a long time, my brain simply stopped looking out of the center as strongly as it should, and I picked up the ghostly images because of it. So
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and it's like somebody who's colorblind or somebody who has or is cross-eyed and has those challenges. I've lived with it for so long that I see normal, but friends like you, Pete, always pointed out. Always point out that disability.
Well, the reason I pointed out is this guy does incredible magic. Well, it's not actually magic, it's mentalism, but the way he manipulates those cards, you'd never think in a million years. A guy, I mean, how do you know which deck you're playing with when you're looking at it?
Not a full one, apparently.
Go with the darkest one. Go with the darkest one, of course. Of course.
So we're going to find out shortly how you became a musician, but in order to be a musician, in order to go through school, you have to be able to read. Now, reading had to be tough for you as well.
Reading is very tough, and it's still very tough, but it's that nowadays they have books that you can listen to, or you have your iPad that reads for you, and certainly that helps me through those challenges. Sometimes you just got to put your head down and read the books, but it's some of those things that we deal with today.
All right, you're watching the Peet and Reet Show. We're talking to Danny Zzzz. We're going to find out about his musical career, his broadcasting career, and then his big jump into being an illusionist and actually world class, even made it on NBC. That next on the Peet and Reet Show. Thanks for hanging in here for us on the Peet and Reet Show. We're talking to Danny Zzzz. That's ZZZ, which is ZZZ in Canada, right?
It's true.
Yes.
Just three Z's. Or is it four?
It's four Z's.
Four Z's?
Four Z's.
It's like I'm putting you to sleep.
It's a four Z's. It's a four Z's.
Okay. Confusing.
All right, let's go from pig farmer
Yep.
to musician who can't read music.
No, I can't read any music. But I am a musician. I can play lots of things. I don't know why. At that very young age, my brother's friend of all people bought me a guitar at a yard sale. And he was a guitar player, and I was fascinated. My first guitar had 3 strings. So
another challenge, folks.
I could play Smoke on the Water.
Oh,
3 different keys.
da.
Yep. But I loved it. So I sat like any child should in a room and tried to figure out all of those songs that were important to us at that period in our lives. And
Besides Smoke on the Water, what was your first full song you...
boy, back then, Ozzy Osbourne was one of my favorites, so I learned Crazy Train and Iron Man and all of those things. Then I got into AC/DC, which turned into You Shook Me All Night Long. Then I discovered Pink Floyd and Neil Young, and then my transition changed into acoustics, and that sound stuck with me for life. So when you're listening to people who motivate you, and you as a musician totally get this, you're so influenced by what they say or how they play their music or the emotion that they put into that music that you're lost. It takes you on a journey all by itself. So because of that, the thought of being able to play that journey or to be a part of it was captivating. And I found that if I wasn't at work or wasn't doing something, I needed a guitar in my hand or a harmonica or a piano or a bass or whatever I could get my hands on. And music is the language of the world. So the reality is if you're passionate about it and you can find it, you can change that language to any musical instrument if you listen for it. So I couldn't read music, and it wasn't that I didn't have the opportunity. I probably could have went to school for it or found someone to teach me, but I found that playing that record album over and over again,
you had a good ear.
rewinding, listening to music, I found that it was just as interesting because I could play the instrument even if it wasn't in my hand, it was in my mind.
Yeah.
So if I could hear the song, I could imagine where my hands would be. And
I think that's a better way to play it, right? When you're playing with emotion and you're seeing the music, and music is a
A
language.
lot of
right?
really
That's the
great
best way to
artists
play.
never
Yeah.
learned music, never read music.
A couple of my friends who I believe are such talented musicians play by reading music. And they far surpass the talent that I believe I have as a musician, but they're limited to what's in front of them. And I really always thought it was a gift that I had the ability to just pick something up and play it. And I often say to people, just start playing, I'll follow along. And it's given me a broader scope to what I play and who I play with, because everyone's got a guitar. You know exactly what I'm talking about. There could be a jam session anywhere.
Exactly.
And you're not, I mean, I took guitar lessons. There was nothing worse than carrying your guitar in there and sitting in that little room. And of course, this was in the basement, and just playing the same. I just wanted to play music, right?
Yeah.
So what turned me off was that. But when you have a love, like you guys, I mean, she's the same way. I mean, you just have a love to sing. You sing from your heart. So it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it works both ways. Some people who are fantastic musicians have the ability and are okay with that. And that's cool too. Mm-hmm. But the passion behind the feeling of the note, the stretching of the sound, the way you sing. Sometimes the song becomes you. As a singer,
Yeah.
you totally know when you hit that note.
Oh, yeah.
The audience might not even be aware, but you just made that point, and
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it gives you a real high,
Of course.
a natural high.
Yes. Entertaining.
Yeah.
Now, you had a number of bands you played with.
Yep. Empty Chambers, another version, Mother's Worry. There was all kinds of them. I have tapes of all of them.
Yeah. Now you think because he told you in the previous segment that he was making $10 an hour, it must have been just like 5-10 years ago, right? No, but you have some tapes. You made tapes of your band.
I still have a good cassette player at home. I can still listen to them. Yeah.
Is the oxide still on the tape?
Yeah. But that's, you know what, that's what we did. That's how we learned. That's how we played. That's how we recorded. And you know what? I made some good money with those cassette tapes sitting outside at the end of a show. It was different back then, but that's what you did. You dubbed 5 or 10 of your tapes, and you hope that somebody would give you $5 at the end of the show to go home and listen to it.
Now, I know you're doing Magic Illusion. Do you still have time to enjoy playing?
You know, I still have an acoustic hanging in my bedroom. I have a piano in the living room, and my influences have changed because I'm a very, very proud father. And as a father, you stop playing for the audiences sometimes. Well, no, you start playing for the audiences. 'Cause my audiences are my children. And
Nice.
I can tell you, listening to my daughter pick something out on the piano that she might have heard me play earlier, or try to pick something on the guitar, that's, to me, the most important, because I'm the Rolling Stones to her.
Well, we're going to hold you up right there on the Peet and Reet Show. We're going to come back, and I want to find out about a couple of things that you've done, like nailing body parts and tattoos and driving blindfolded. Coming up next. And welcome back to the Peet and Reet Show, and we're here with Danny Zzzz, our guest today. Unbelievable stuff you've done, but I want to talk about, first let's talk about the tattoos. Apparently you have a tattoo parlor, or did, or...
And how come? I mean,
The tattoo
pig farming,
industry.
music,
Yeah,
football, career,
Tattoos.
Yeah, tattoos.
Yeah.
It all comes together.
You know, in high school, we all do something. I was that long-haired, unwashed, hippie jean jacket guy.
Yeah.
That and there's nothing wrong with that.
Let's qualify that.
Yeah. But I was an artist. I drew on everybody. There was a gentleman by the name of Dave Eller who equally had a look in high school, and usually on my lunch hours we would be in the cafeteria with a set of magic markers, and I would sleeve him with designs. And I can remember in grade 11, I think, Mr. Morimoto, if you're watching, he was the art teacher, and he got so mad at me, and he said, "You have artistic talent and you're wasting it drawing on people." He did. He got so mad. Anyway, him and I got in a heated exchange, and he kicked me out of that class. And years later, I was at Canadian Tire of all places, and I bumped into him, and Mr. Morimoto. Yeah. I said, "Mr. Morimoto," and he was like, "Dan." And we small talked for a minute, and he said, "What are you doing these days?" I was like, "Yeah, I own a chain of tattoo shops." It was kind of a feel
but
good.
see, teachers should never do that. And we were talking to Mike Robitaille a few weeks ago, who played in the NHL and is a broadcaster for the Sabres, and he said the same thing. Up where he lived up north, they told him he'd never amount to anything. They'd forget your dreams. You're a loser. Well, guess what?
Yeah. Well, my brother and I, my brother who is still a very successful tattoo artist, we started a franchise called Artistic Impressions, which in the region is without a doubt one of the strongest, best shops in my selfish opinion. And we had a number of shops, number of artists, and a colorful many, many years in the industry. I don't begrudge a minute of it.
And he doesn't have one tattoo on his body that you can see.
You know what? I kept the tattoos clear. My arms are clean. My neck, a lot of my upper body. A little something in my mouth, perhaps. But
that must have hurt.
no.
Oh,
But
That must have hurt. Please.
Yeah.
Wait till he tells the rest of the story.
You know, in the business industry, it's important how you look. We talk about stereotypical places that we're put. I mean, you guys doing your Oscar show and the things related to racism and opinions of others. We live in a world where sometimes you're still looked at under a certain perception.
Of course.
And so I chose to keep the tattoos where you couldn't see them for no other reason than I realized very young it was important that I looked a certain way, and that occurred in broadcasting of all places. I worked for a radio station.
Of course.
As we all
A
did.
great progression. Tattoos, now we're into
Yes.
radio.
I worked for a radio station, 97.7 Hits FM. I was Danimal. And,
He was Danimal. Look,
Yeah,
that's what Danimal
looks
This is
like
it,
now.
guys. This is it. I have a face for radio. I was Danimal from 97.7 Hits FM. It was the Rev Joe Enema. Enema.
Oh,
I think
really?
we can
We didn't
stop
know
there.
that.
I think we should stop there. Yeah.
Oh.
It was the Rev Joe and Emma,
Yes.
and we had
Who wasn't having an enema.
Who wasn't having an enema at all? Yeah,
Lovely lady.
yeah. And we had a great morning show, and then I had the Hangover Cafe on the weekends.
Oh, hang on. Let's go back to Danimal and some of the crazy things that Danimal did. Now, he's done a lot. I mean, Danimal hooked himself with nails through. Was it nails through the back, spikes through the back?
We did lots of things.
But and then hung.
Yeah. You make it sound like it's a bad thing.
It's not bad.
You know, the body modification industry was fantastic, certainly to me and my family, and we did very, very well with it. The mentality behind it gave us a lot of opportunity. You see, if you know it doesn't hurt or know how to do it, you can do anything. So in the radio industry, I got that name Danimal because I wasn't afraid, which is actually comes back to the beginning of our show when we're talking about not being afraid to do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So knowing where to put the hooks or the pins or the needles or the tattoos were a very important part of me becoming who I am
So let's
today.
ask one question. And we need to know if it's true because we weren't there, but we did hear it on the radio that you had one time had nailed a part of your body to a piece of wood and spun it. Is there any truth to that?
And it was the lower body region.
I think you'll have to go online to find that one out.
All right. We'll have to go online. Because it was at the 40-year Friendship Festival, I believe, that it was supposed to have happened.
It's online? I want to go now.
I think the producer's saying it's
Now.
about time.
All right. You're watching the Peet and Reet Show. We're going to talk magic next with Danny Zzzz.
Hi, welcome back to the Peet and Reet Show. We're here with Danny Zzzz, our special guest today. Thanks so much for being here.
The Danny Zzzz, right? Who has, well, we talked about pig farming, school, still had to go to school, right?
Yep.
A musician, an artist in school, a very good artist, then a tattoo artist. Then he decides he's going to be a radio broadcaster. And that was a pretty long career. You've done a lot of things. And now he's married, he's got kids, and he's got to go and tell his wife, radio's just not where it's at right now. I really like it. I learned a lot, but I'm going to be a magician. How'd that go for you?
Yeah, that's a tough conversation. You know, being self-employed in the tattoo industry for many, many years and then working in broadcasting opened up my opportunities. The tattoo industry taught me how to value people and interact with them. When you're getting any tattoo, body modification, body piercing, anything like that, you have to make the person feel comfortable. You have to talk to them and make them feel comfortable. And there's so many people that come into the shops on a constant basis that you have to redefine yourself for every person that comes in because they're characters and you have to make them feel at home.
And you're really getting kind of intimate with them.
Personal
Sometimes.
places?
It's
Yeah,
interesting to be a
sometimes.
gynecologist.
Yeah,
Whoa.
exactly.
Yeah. Then the field of broadcasting taught me how to talk to groups of people or make sure that the things that I say are governed to be family friendly or how you speak. You don't say a lot of ahs or a lot of pauses, and you make sure you work well with others, certainly on a situation like this today. So I think that both of those careers helped hone me to my next phase in life, which was
Magique.
magic. Yeah, I remember having to say to my wife,
I wanted to be that part of that
wish I was a fly on a
conversation.
wall,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, you know, I think I'm going to be a magician. That's a peculiar conversation. I don't know if many people have had that sit-down conversation with their
I know
family.
I haven't.
You know, I was a proud father and married for many years and had to look at her and suggest that that was a logical
Way to go.
career
Makes sense.
opportunity. Yeah. Because first of all, just consider who would think it would work. I did. I thought I had it all worked out. This is what you do. You get together, you hire an electrician, a woodworker, a carpenter, a producer, sound engineer, lighting engineer. You put them all in the room. You learn some tricks. You do a lot of this, some of that. And you pump it all together. And then you tell people, hey, I'm going to do a magic show. And when you do that, people are going to spend their hard-earned money to come and see you do something
Every
that you
single week.
that you have no history of doing.
Yeah.
That's like you saying you're going to be an opera singer, Pete.
Yeah, and we know that would never happen.
Well, people would go once.
Yeah, never again.
Yeah. So I managed to squeeze together a show, and I can remember the very first show. I can remember the crowd. I can remember coming out, and I did have tails and a tuxedo looking
Like all good magicians should back then.
I had my staff in the ready position, and I walked out, and tickets were $5. And I had to beg, borrow, and steal every audience member that came there. I had to plead with family and friends to come out and see this show. And it was an hour-plus show, almost 2 hours. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I came out and did this first illusion. And at the end of the illusion, I yanked off this piece of fabric to make someone disappear, and there was a lady in the front row that said, I got my $5 worth already. It's funny. I tell that story a lot, but it taught me a lot about perception, because I had devaluized my show. I thought my show was only worth $5 a person, and the reality was I had pulled together a team. And it's very important that I say that, because in broadcasting or in any industry, we always think that as the face, we're where it's at, when the reality is there's lots of people all around us that make this show what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was the spokesperson for a fantastic team that made me shine. And that first show allowed us the opportunity to have more shows, and we failed miserably. And the reason we failed was we're in small town St. Catharines, so to speak, with a large town show that when everybody came to see, they're not going to come every Friday to see the same show. So it didn't take long for my rise to fame to slender down.
Uncle
the hill.
John only wanted to see it once,
That's
right?
Let's
Yeah.
qualify it though.
Yeah,
You did it, right?
I did.
There's no failing here. It's just learning, right?
Of course, and I wasn't afraid to try. I didn't believe that I would fail. I thought that I had everything together and I was ready to go. But what I learned was I needed something that I could change up or revisit or relive week after week to draw more people in. And that's when I decided I would get into hypnosis.
And you had to go back and tell your wife that. Hey, this is great. Magic was good,
Guess
but
what,
this
honey?
is going to really put us over
really
the top.
going to work, yeah. And I went to school and decided that hypnosis was the next phase in my colorful life. And I put both of those shows together, and I had a fantastic comedy, magic, and hypnosis show that I am proud to say I have done thousands of times all over the world, and I couldn't be more proud.
And it is
It was
funny, too.
great.
Now, you're also a mentalist. Now, is that something that happens naturally or you have to go to school for? And what is a mentalist?
Mentalism is your ability to read somebody's mind, or certainly to control the aspect, or to read the tells. And I've spent a lot of time doing just that. Reading what's happening with you guys.
Don't be reading us.
Nothing happening there.
Yeah. That's why
Empty.
we're safe.
Empty.
Yep. So I have taken that opportunity, and I could do something quickly for you now.
Oh, please.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great.
See, a lot of people use a variety of different options,
Do we need to
different
move the
things. No, it's okay. The bicycle playing card is the most recognized card in the world today. Millions and millions of decks, hundreds of millions of decks have been sold. And when we all picture cards, they all look the same to how you would imagine them. So this is just a standard deck of bicycle cards. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something so simple. I'm going to spread the cards, and I'll have you select a card. Now, for the audience that are watching at home, there isn't cameras behind us or people behind us. All the staff are out front of us here. So there's no way anybody else can see. So I'll kind of turn my head away, reach my hand over to you, and spread it. And you guys can pick a card wherever you'd like. We'll do it nice, quick, and simple. Just pick a card.
Go ahead, Rita.
You got one?
Can we look at
I
it?
just want you to quickly look at it and think of that card in your mind. Do you have it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You can set it right back here on the deck. Mentalism works by you picturing something in your mind. Now, I realize that the viewers who are watching at home or from their smartphones or from the internet, they realize that we could have something set up. We do not.
No, nothing.
Nothing.
What I have you do is I have you picture that card in your mind, because as you picture it, you see the outline of the card, you see the color of the card, you see the black card that you had in your hand, the spade,
Don't
as
say
an
it.
example.
Don't nod.
You can clearly see it. No, I can see it in her mind actually already. As she draws it in her mind, I can see clearly you're thinking of the 8 of spades. Is that correct?
That's
Is
correct.
that
Correct.
And that's
That's
what
correct.
happens is you focus on something so quick. I'm going to try it with you, Pete. But
Okay.
what I'm going to have you do is take a clump of cards, like 3 cards or something like that. I'll spread them. You take a little clump. Just say stop.
Stop.
Okay, take a little clump. And what I want you to do is organize those cards in your mind from highest to lowest, just in your mind. Spread them out in your hand. And I don't know if you're showing the audience or you're not.
I am.
I'm trying to turn away to make it absolutely safe in every way.
Okay.
Are you good?
Yep.
Okay. If you're scanning your eyes from left to right in your mind on those cards, you have all red cards. Is that correct?
So far, yeah.
All red. The lowest card in your hand is a heart. Is that correct?
It's correct.
Yes.
Is it the 2 of hearts?
Yes.
The
it is.
highest card in your hand is a heart as well. On the opposite side, the highest card is a face card. It is a King of Hearts.
Yes.
The card that
Yes,
you put
it
in the
is.
middle is a red card as well, but this card is a diamond.
Yes.
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 It's the 6 of diamonds.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you just picture
2.
it in your mind.
6. King. That is unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
They're just a deck of cards. The power of the subconscious mind.
Now, a couple
Wow.
years back, Chris Angel was one of the key producers, and he was on the show called Phenomenon on NBC. You made it on that show.
Yes, it was a casting call that was worldwide. And they, through all the communities, all the casting directors, everybody out there, they sent out looking for magicians everywhere. And I was fortunate enough to receive one of the calls. And we had to send something in. We had to send what we think we would do to get onto that show. So a casting producer, her name is Marla Brodsky, had contacted me via the internet and then a phone call. And she had set up something similar to this, where it's a Skype or an online opportunity for us to meet face to face. A lot of casting calls are done that way. So what happens is I set up a computer and she sets up a computer, and it's a live interaction. So after we did the interview, because they ask you lots of questions, I said, can I do something with you? And as it had worked out, we had prepared that we knew we were talking on a Monday. So the Friday before, when we had arranged preparation for the casting call, I had Pure Later couriered her an envelope. No bigger than your iPad, something that
I
she
was
had in her
involved in
hand.
this. I can verify this is
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she had this envelope, and while I was talking to her, I said, I need you to tell me a few things. I need a person's name, a deceased loved one, and she said the name Dorothy. And then I said, I need you to think of a number, any number at all, and she said 1973. So I said, I want you to think of a card in the playing deck, and she chose the Queen of Hearts. So while we were live on Skype, she opened up the envelope and it said Dorothy 1973, and there was a Queen of Hearts taped to the paper.
And she
Shut
screamed.
up.
She lost her mind.
I bet.
And I smiled and said, see you in Los Angeles.
And you got the gig.
That's how I got in.
Wow.
So,
World
That's
class.
crazy.
Danny, we could spend hours and weeks talking to you. Thank you so
I love
much.
it.
Yeah,
I
thank you
love
so
it.
much.
And you know what? I love watching the show. I certainly subscribe and check in. I couldn't be more proud.
And we want everybody else to subscribe too, so we can bring more shows and have fantastic people like Danny Zzzz on the Peet and Reet Show.
And one more thing we want to add. When you go out there, folks, do something nice for somebody.
Yeah.
If somebody asks you for $1, give it to them, because you never know where they came from. And that's our new motto. Get out there and help people. So we'll see you next time on the Peet and Reet Show.